The reading from Emmett Fox is titled Foresight in Hindsight. When you have to make a decision or take a certain action, all that you can do is to do the best you know at that time. And if you do that, you will have done your duty. In the light of after events, it may turn out that you made a mistake. But that will not be your fault because you could not possibly do better than the best you know at the time. Claim that the Christ is guiding you and believe it, and the ultimate outcome will be favorable even if things seem to go wrong for a time. And there's a very short scripture from Isaiah 58, verse 11. And the Lord shall guide thee continually.
And I'll say it from the Lamsa, but I'll give the whole 11th verse. And the Lord shall guide you continually, and satisfy your soul with rich food, and strengthen your bones, and you shall be like a watered garden, and like a spring whose water fails not. What a wonderful promise. Okay, folks, so today I'm talking based on an article I came across in Washington Post. It's about forest bathing. And you may know about it. I'd never heard of it before, but I'm going to be extending beyond it. So if you're familiar with forest bathing, bear with me because we're going to go someplace different past it. So, you know, in this time, high stress, high anxiety, increased illness, increased financial woes for many people, it's important to add every path we can find to divine wisdom, to divine love, to divine power, and to the feeling of safety because we reside in the divine. And this article, for many people, and maybe many of us, provides a different answer, if you will. They call it forest bathing, and it is highly regarded enough now that academics in various institutions, including Harvard and MIT, are teaching it. And in fact, in one Harvard affiliate hospital, it's required training for physicians who are in their residency. The idea is that you can, by connecting in a particular way with nature, you can find peace, you can reduce your stress. And Dr. Abashir is one of these leaders, and she actually teaches the course now to residents, to students, medical people in residency. She's talking to the reporter here. This is in the Washington Post. And she says, imagine that your body has roots, and notice the roots. Watch them as they tunnel down from your body through your legs and your torso down into the earth. Your roots are mingling with other roots in the earth. Imagine your roots have eyes and wonder at what they might see. And then she goes on to say, find a being. The being might be a tree or a rock. Greet it as you would a friend. You might want to introduce yourself. You might want to share something with that being. And she goes from there as essentially you establish, if I can put it this way, a residency. And the author notes that this is not new in Japan. Japan has been doing this sort of thing. It's called Shinrin Ryoku for, she says, thousands of years. I can't verify that. But there's also an institute here in the States now, the Association of Nature and Forest Therapy, that has published a book, Your Guide to Forest Bathing. And the Institute and the founder, Amos Clifford, argues that there are at least 14 senses we have in our body, including body radar and imaginal communication. And Mr. Clifford actually suggests that when you go into the earth, you actually create rooms, different rooms for yourself, tying in with the various beings down there. For instance, he gives the suggestion of a fairy dancetorium where you go, and he says you can even get the water to carry messages for you. Or you flatter a tree with compliments. You can ask it for advice on relationships or other personal matters. But he says you have to be cautious. You have to assume that the whole forest is listening in, like a nosy relative. Now, why are they turning this into academically acceptable? Well, they report studies showing lower blood pressure, reduced anxiety, reduced stress hormone levels, improved memory, improved attention, better mood, better sleep, faster recovery from surgery and illness, healthier gut microbiomes. So what they're doing is presenting another way of connecting with the broader universe of which we're part, of which we're stardust. Now they have some scientific theory. They have some chemicals they believe that we benefit from that trees exude, which is one reason you want to spend time in the trees. But they do note reduced depression, reduced stress, improved pulmonary and cardiovascular health. And they say the larger the trees and the higher the tree density, and the larger the forest area, the greater the positive effects to you of doing forest bathing. They also believe in the fact that you're in the forest, you're inhaling negative ions, and also some of the microorganisms, a particular type that I'm not going to try to pronounce, from the soil. And one study by a Japanese researcher says that the immune benefits of a 2-night camping trip in the forest can last for a month. So that's all pretty cool. But the thing is, it's not new. Now, let me say, first of all, corollaries to what I've just talked about. Ben Franklin was a passionate believer in air bathing. And I've read stories of people walking down the street in Philadelphia in the middle of winter would find him sitting stark naked in an open window on the second floor of his house. And there's also a very funny story of when he and John Adams were traveling, they had to put up in an inn. And back then, 2 or 3 or 4 people would have to share the same bed, quite different from our expectations. And John Adams wrote with asperity how he and Franklin had an argument over whether the window should be open and closed in this winter night. And he would close the window, and Ben Franklin would go over and open the window. And he would close the window, and Ben Franklin would get up and open the window, and so forth. I don't recall that they ever settled that. And Ajahn Choksi, who's a physician here in town, both Indian subcontinent trained and Western trained, frequently tells his patients that they need to spend time in the forest to absorb the negative ions, which will improve their health. And then, as I've mentioned before, the Peace Pilgrim talked about her first spiritual experience walking down a path in the forest and realizing, oh, this mud is God, this rock is God, this tree is God. So that's all cool in modern day, but I want to point out something far more important. These folks are simply discovering the shamanic way of life. Now, I don't know how many of you have participated or are familiar with the traditions of the Aboriginal shamans, but the basic drill is if you're Aboriginal, you ingest a hallucinogenic or you listen to a beating drum, and through that you leave your body, you find a hole into the earth. Back then it could be a cave, it could be a gopher hole, a wormhole, and you follow it down until ultimately you come to this other world, a world where the physical laws that we are used to don't happen. You know, you can have a squirrel come up and talk to you, or another animal. You can fly. Birds and bats can run errands for you. Trees can talk to you, or give you a lift, or create a place of rest for you. And the shaman goes there to solve a this world problem. Someone is ill, the shaman goes to the other side, and the animals or somebody show the shaman what the ailment is, or the source of the ailment. Often it's presented as a being or as a spirit, and then the shaman is shown what to do, and the shaman does it on the other side, and the person on the earth side gets well. Now that's the way your Aboriginals do. Now I don't talk about it much, but my two sisters and I all ended up becoming trained as shaman. And we all went different ways. None of us ever sought it. But one thing each of us realized in our journey was that you didn't need to ingest something. You didn't need to listen to a drum for hours on end. You didn't even need to stay on the other side for hours on end. All you had to do was figuratively reach up and flip a switch in your head, and you were seeing and hearing from the other side of what I call the shamanic side of life. A couple of examples from my own work. Ages ago, when AIDS was just becoming the epidemic and nobody knew what to do with it, I learned that a friend of mine, Johnny Arcangeli, living in New York, had come down with AIDS and was terminal. So I sent one of my shamanic animals, my wolf, to be with Johnny while he was still alive. Well, it turns out Johnny lived longer than almost anybody else at that time, and because of how long he survived, medical doctors were able to learn a great deal about how to treat, how to deal with AIDS. And one morning I woke up and there was my wolf sitting by the side of my bed, and I knew that Johnny had passed. Another situation, one of my clients came in ages ago back when I traveled, and she was sort of wincing and explained that she'd had a sharp pain in her shoulder for the last couple, 3 days, and nothing seemed to be taking care of it. So I looked with my shamanic eye, and what I saw was a fishhook embedded in the shoulder, and all sorts of nylon monofil fishing line just sort of piercing the shoulder, a big tangle. So I reached out, and on the shamanic side, I started, first of all, I unhooked that fishing hook, cut it off, threw it away, and then I started pulling out the nylon monofilament line, untangling it until finally I had all of it in my hand and I threw it out. And my client looked at me and said, "I don't know what you've done, but I don't have any pain anymore." Every one of us here, if you're not doing it now, you have that capability. Not only because you are stardust, like all of us are, but you have been exposed to and are comfortable with moving outside this limited existence, the earth side consciousness, if you will. And that's something I hope that you will explore, consider. If you want to read more about it, Michael Harner's book, The Way of the Shaman, explores the commonalities of different shamans from different Aboriginal tribes. Don't buy into how you have to go, but you might find it worthwhile seeing how they go about healing when they're on the other side. The people talking about forest baths, they're getting you partway there. They're giving you the framework of going down into the earth, and their metaphor being putting your roots down, going down to the roots, and getting to know the rock, the trees, I suppose the gophers and the worms as well. But they don't know the rest of what can be done. Perhaps at some point they'll discover it. But I trust all of us here understand we are star stuff. We are part and parcel of the overall divine, multi-universe, multi-frequency, whatever we want to say, existence. And we can go just about anywhere. Another example that's sort of a sidebar. I trade work with some of my other lift practitioners, and last week, I don't remember what I was working on, but it had to do with the soul. I'm sorry, not the soul, the others and unnamed, which we don't know what they are. But the healing I did, when I went into it, suddenly I was spread out through multiple universes, multiple colors, stars, colors, powers. It beggars description. I don't have words for it. And I realized that what I was having to heal went through so many different frequencies, universes, galaxies, whatever. That's part of the inheritance of all of us. So, one thing you might do is, in your quiet time, first, don't refuse to let something that's out of the ordinary or doesn't fit the physics of this world buffalo you. A good place to start would be to ask the shamanic animals, the power animals, the spirit animals, whose job is to work with you and support you, to introduce themselves to you. You may have one, you may have several. You may have a whole boatload. I have a barnyard full. Some, I don't know why they're there. Others, like the wolf, like my bear, they've been very useful. But that would be a start. And then, with them as guides, become comfortable exploring the shamanic side of life, even if you don't have a particular purpose. Because being comfortable going over there and coming back, when the purpose is there, it'll already be a comfortable place for you to visit. It sort of reminds me of a passage from the book The Boy Who Saw True, where he talks to his grandfather who's on the other side of life. And he asks his grandfather, who comes to visit every so often during milk and cookie time with his tutor, with the kid's tutor, why grandmother doesn't come to visit, because she's on the other side too. And grandfather says, well, when we were on your side of life, I just sort of took things as they came, didn't think too much about God or anything like that. But your mother, she went to that church many times a week, and she always said that when she died, she was going to sit at the throne of Jesus and sing his praises for all eternity. So we're both up here now, he says, or out here, I don't remember what word he used. And me, I've just been going around seeing the sights. It's a pretty cool place. Your grandmother, she's sitting at the throne of God singing God's praises forever. Now the angels come around and say, hey, do you want to see more of this? And they always say, no, I'm here to sing God's praises. Don't let yourself be stuck in a rut. Don't let your own limited definitions keep you from experiencing your full existence, your full connections with all of the divine, all of the universes, all of the existences, and all of the shamanic experiences that you can use for your better life and to help this world. One person said the idea of forest bathing, and I'll say of shamanic journeying. It's a reminder to center yourself and ground yourself when things are chaotic in the outside world. And that's just the start of it. That's what that's all forest bathing teaches. But now you know where else you can go when you center yourself, ground yourself, and open yourself to being introduced to all the other parts of God's existence, of which we are a part. And there's a Rumi quote. I'll see if I can remember it. You are not the ocean. You are the ocean in one drop. You are not the ocean. You are the ocean in one drop. So that's what I have to say tonight, folks. Any thoughts, contributions? Yes, Lori K. And then Lori R.
I just wanted to give you the quote. You're not a drop in the ocean. You are the ocean in one drop.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Lori R.
I just have a question. How do you get to that other place?
I guess I'd say by being silent and intending.
Okay.
And letting whatever input comes. Now, if you read the book, The Way of the Shaman, you'll see that many people rely on a drum beat. I'm sure you can find that drum beat on the internet, YouTube, or something like that. And then there are people who fly down to Peru to experience ayahuasca, and peyote is used. I don't know that I necessarily recommend hallucinogens since you don't need it to get there.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, just be patient and open yourself and decide that you're willing to experience things that you've never experienced before and see what happens.
Thank you.
Yeah. Dave and then Liz. Can you use the...
I just had a question really for you, Brian, and Phyllis, and the group for that matter. I've read about and things like it's like I said, ayahuasca, and there's a place in town here that I drive by sometimes that's called it's like Kraton, and it's supposed to help with pain relief and things of that nature. Anyhow, I'm just curious if anybody has experienced anything like that, or mushrooms or anything like that, because I have been. I think if given the opportunity, I think I would try, because I have failed miserably in my view trying to, obtain the things that you have, Brian, with regard to going to different levels, and I don't have the patience after all these years. It didn't seem like to go about doing it another way. So I was just curious for the group if anybody has gone the alternative route just to kind of obtain those levels of consciousness.
I can give you some feedback. I have not, but what I have read and heard is if you're going to try one of the altering experiences, you better have someone who's really good at guidance, or you can have a really bad experience.
Well, I'm having bad experiences without it often, so.
Well, what you might try drumming, because that's, to me, that's less, or listening to drumming. That, to me, that's much less risky.
Okay.
Lori had a comment. Lori R, and then we go to Liz.
Okay, Lori R, and then Liz.
I was just gonna comment on the kratom. I took that for pain for quite a while, and you want to be careful with that. It's easy to overdose on it. So if you're going to take it, you need to talk to somebody that understands how it works. There's different kinds, there's different colors that are different strengths for different ailments. So make sure you talk to someone knowledgeable if you want to go that route to try with the kratom. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Liz, why don't you unmute her?
All right, Liz, let's see. There
Okay,
you go.
you ready to go?
Go.
Gotcha, Liz.
Okay, am I unmuted?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to say I've done it a couple times. I did it with the drumming, and that was of great assistance. And it was outside with the real drum with the group, and I ended up talking to the roots of a tree that was dying in my son's yard. And it was a tree that he absolutely adored and had gone to a lot of work to save when he built his house, made sure that the contractors didn't make any contact with the roots or anything like that. So anyway, it was a really neat experience, and the tree is still alive today. That was about 12 years ago. But the forest is my favorite favorite place to meditate. Just to go out in the nature and feel all that uh, life around me, and it's absolutely my favorite place. But the drumming adds quite a bit to it, quite a bit of focus.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Lori K.
Okay, Lori K. Yes.
I feel pulled to say that even though it looks really great to have like really high experiences, high spiritual experiences, when I've had them, I mean, that's fantastic, you know, but you still have to, like they say, you still have to chop wood, carry water. You still have to come back down to your real life and do your life and be okay with, not just okay, but really appreciative. Come to a place where you can be appreciative of just simplicity in daily life. And I was watching something this morning about how we are electromagnetic frequency, and it was talking about raising the energy really quickly and how we can get really messed up if we don't have enough grounding. It's not about leaving the body. It's about raising the energy of the body so that we're holding all of it at the same time.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Yes, Ellie.
I've done a little bit what you were talking about, not in an actual forest. We have a willow tree out here. You guys might have seen it when I've taken pictures or been outside. But a very I don't know, has a lot of energy that flows through it, and very, very grounding when when I've gone out, and all I have to do is basically sit on my deck or the patio and not really ground in the traditional sense, but what they call earthing or rooting, just bringing that energy up and releasing it. And 5-10 minutes, and then I've got the music going or the drumming on the inside, and that really helps. I mean, 5-10 minutes you wouldn't think is a long time, but it's enough to reset everything. And it's amazing how much healing that short of time can do. And you were talking about, don't let your limit, what was the word you were, limitedness stop you from experiencing the divine fully. I used to have a box. Not that I put the divine in a box, but I'd put experiences in a box. If it didn't fit my mental checklist, what I grew up with, the rules that I grew up with, it wasn't of the divine or it wasn't of the goddess. And so the last 3 years I've been exploring other things, and some of the walls have like come down, like boom, like the walls of Jericho almost when they blew the shofars, and others took a minute, and the ones that took a minute, it was, more like, I don't know if you've seen, the demolition experts when they lay their things and then they hit the button and then everything just goes at the same time. But it takes a minute to lay those charges. But then once they're laid and that button's pushed, it's gone, and you can see all the connections just fall. And so I don't know, I tell myself that all the time when I get stuck. Don't let my limitedness stop me from experiencing what I need to experience. So, and I've had a couple of those conversations this past week, and it's been, very enlightening how we make our own prisons, how we create those things to keep ourselves stuck. When we don't see something, and until we do, we can't release it. That's one of the things I found during this past Samhain, is being able to release those things that I'm holding on to. Because if I can't release those, then I won't be able to see. And it was like, no one has any control over that but me. Anyway, as you were talking about being a shaman, and experiencing the different, levels or places, I'm sure there's similar things that you had to let go of to be able to release, to accept the other things. So thank you for sharing your journeys and your teachings.
Dear God, we thank you for having provided our time together today, for having enabled us to share our caring, our wisdom, our walk together with you. We thank you for watching over us as we depart from here, guiding our minds, our steps, our hearts. Help us to continually be in your service and sensitive to your leadings this week. And we thank you for the good that you enable us on your behalf to bring to others, and the good that you deliver to our lives. We give you full gratitude and full credit. We say thank you, thank you, thank you for all this good. And we all say, Amen.
Amen.